All right, let's begin in Nigeria as we look at the discussion on digital payments. NIBS, the Nigeria Interbank Settlement Scheme, putting out some point-of-sale transactions for the first quarter of 2024, actually showing that they declined by about 19% to 302 million in the first quarter of the year. That's volumes. On the value side, 2.6 trillion, 8% drop. When we look at the types of transactions that were by type, instant payments, big surge, 90%, 236 trillion. Mobile transfers, 87% climb, 17.1 trillion. Checks, who still writes checks? Does anyone still write checks? 900 million in terms of volume, 16.6% decline there. So we're going to be discussing digital payments scaling across Nigeria, Africa. We're happy to have Dr. Reda Helal. He's the Managing Director for Processing in Africa for Network International. Let's take a look at Network International's profile. They're a leading enabler of digital commerce across the Middle East and Africa region. They provide a full suite of technology-enabled payment solutions to merchants and financial institutions. And I think we have their figures up, if we can put that up there. As far as processing for 2023, I think it was over 60 billion or so that was processed, 12,000 plus merchants, I think about, what, over 200 financial institutions? There we go. Yes, there's the figures right there in front of us. So, Dr. Reda, we're very, very happy to have you. Can you talk about the factors that have pushed the rapid expansion, I guess, of digital payments across the African continent?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Ross, for having me today, first of all.
Certainly.
And thank you for everyone watching us. So let's start about the driving forces behind digital payment and the penetration and the adoptions that took place over the last few years. Let me start by Africa in general and Nigeria in particular. So you have the youngest population across the globe in Africa. We are talking about Nigeria today, more than 230, and which big part of that are young youth. So they are used to all the digital, they came with the mobile phone, so this is part of their DNA. Another factor, which is the financial inclusion, all the initiatives that takes place by the government, by the central bank, also promotes the digital payment transformation. If I'm talking about the technology adoption, if you look at the population in Nigeria today, the access to the internet is surging in the last couple of years. Also, the ability to have digital mobile phone or smartphone, absolutely different than 5 years back. Also, in terms of the technical infrastructure that exists in the country, I remember when I used to come here 20 years back, things were totally different. So if you bring all of these factors together, focused on all of the driving forces behind the digital transformation, you will understand exactly why we are talking about over 160 million cards exist. We are talking about over 1.8 million POS machine. Also from the ATM perspective, also from the digital channel. So all of these factors are coming together, focused on Nigeria, will give you a little bit of a flavor of why we are today different than 5 years back.
Excellent. Now, as far as, we're looking at your footprint across the MEA region, can you talk about some of the Network International, your key successes in Africa?
Absolutely. And if you allow me for a quick moment, I will tell you exactly who we are when we started.
Okay.
We are 30 years in the business. We were born out of the UAE in Dubai. But since then, we have penetrated over 50 countries across Middle East and Africa. And let's make it clear, we are from Middle East and Africa and only focused on Middle East and Africa. All our resources, which is over 2,200 resources, are residing within Middle East and Africa. If I focus on Africa today, I operate with a very simple approach, the hub and spoke, which will enable me to be closer to my clients. So if I look at Africa as a continent, I have 5 clusters or 5 hubs. So one support North Africa out of Egypt, one support Kenya and Eastern Africa, one support Southern Africa, one supports the Francophone. And today in West Africa, I have 2 hubs.
Okay.
I have one in Nigeria, which is the largest.
Of course.
Today, we have over 150 colleagues that support the operation of our clients here, in which we have around 65% market share when it comes to the bank. So out of the 25 commercial bank we have today, we support over 20, but overall we have 220 banks, financial institutions, fintechs, mobile operators. So pretty much the entire value chain from the issuer processing solution to the acquirer processing solution, this is what we do.
Wow, wow. Okay, look, a lot has been said about investments coming into Nigeria. President Tinubu, our president, he was in Saudi Arabia for the World Economic Forum special meeting.
Yes.
He's announced an investment coming from Maersk coming into Nigeria. Can you talk to us with the focus on investments in Nigeria, what Network International, the kind of investments you want to make to spread digital payments across the continent, across Nigeria and so on?
100%. And to simplify it, I will put it into two brackets. One is related to the people, which is the talent that we have on the ground. All the team here operates out of Nigeria are Nigerians, and also the technology. So we are here, we are not new to the market. We exist in the market for around 20 years. We are supporting all the digital transformation. We work very closely with the central bank. But on top of that, even the platform that we have today, we are bringing the latest technology that we work with in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, in South Africa, and we are bringing it to Nigeria. Within June, we will be live with the latest innovative, best-in-breed technology, which will enable us to do multiple things. Number one, whatever technology and solution before all, that will be available for any of the 220 clients we have across the 50 countries where we support will be available for the Nigerian markets and subsequently for the Nigerian consumer as well. Whether we are talking about physical POS, we are talking about like Momo applications, we are talking about e-commerce, payment gateway, everything throughout the entire value chain absolutely will enable us to continue driving the transformation in the country today and enabling people to have more convenient, seamless, frictionless experience, because this is what really matters the most. But before I end this one of the crucial points, and we take it very serious, is the safety and security. Because you bring a new solution, you try to change the behavior of individual, absolutely fine. So it has to be convenient. Once it's convenient, now we need to ensure that it's absolutely secure and safe, because whatever you do with consumer, if they have any experiences that will alter with that, you're not going to get back.
Right.
So we need to get it right from the first time. And this is absolutely what we do.
Fantastic. Okay, so look, you talked about the hubs that you have.
Yes.
Egypt, Kenya, Francophone, Nigeria, Southern Africa. How do you navigate the different regulatory environments and requirements of each of these different hubs?
Brilliant, brilliant. Because look, we work and support a highly regulated industry, in which we cannot do anything unless we have the clearance from the regulators, from the central banks. And this is the strength that we bring to the market. So in 50 markets, we close in partnership with the regulator, with the central bank, and all of these. Apart from that, even from the PCI DSS perspective, from all the InfoSec certification, we are talking about the PCI, we are talking about the schemes certification. Also, in terms of Nigeria today, we are working with the central bank very closely to ensure that we are fully compliant. So anything related to the compliance, anything related to the regulatory framework, we are absolutely proactive to ensure that we continue to support the transformation and the digital agenda in the country, including the financial inclusion, but more importantly, to continue being compliant with all the evolving and the dynamics of the market here.
Fantastic. Now, can you talk to us about localizing your business solutions in order to promote fintechs and so on in a country like Nigeria?
100%. I would say it is localized already because we here, so we do everything, and this is the beauty of what we are doing. You need to align with everything required in the market to continue supporting the needs of our clients. And here we are supporting conventional commercial banks. We are supporting digital and neobanks. We are supporting fintechs as well. And recently, we ventured into the telco operators. We support the largest 4 telco operators across the continent, and which is their biggest hub, guess where? Here in Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
Yes,
right,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So to touch on this, we have recently increased the premises. So we used to have an office here very close by. We have doubled down in terms of the office premises. And this is according to the plan that we have, the strategic direction to increase the investment in Nigeria, to have more resources, and to also train the new talent that would like to come into the digital payment space. But more importantly, with the right solution and the digital platform that will enable us to continue building innovative yet secure solutions to serve the clients.
Now, as far as serving clients, you've talked about working with CBN and so on and so forth. What about collaborations? Can you talk about any collaborations in order to boost your reach and what you're doing?
100%. And it's not, look, the space, and I would like to think about it in a very simple manner. We are all together in the digital payment space today. We are yet to penetrate beyond the 20%. 80% of the population across the continent continue to have less access to the formal banking channels. So instead of going with the current stakeholders, we are talking about the regulator, central bank, as you rightly stated. Yeah. We are talking about the technology provider like ourselves. We are talking about banks, fintechs, mobile money operators. We are talking about the international scheme and the local schemes as well. All of that, we need to think differently. We need to ensure that we are talking about transforming the cash into the cashless society. So the enemy here is not like, or the competition here, we are not talking about who's competing against what. Yeah. But all of us need to come together to complement the value proposition, to ensure that we are tapping into the cash society to get more of these who are less privileged to have access with cost-efficient solution to ensure that we are bringing more into the formal economy, into the digital payment channel.
Fantastic. Now, as far as the future, how do you see the future of digital payments on the African continent, places like Nigeria, and also elsewhere where you operate?
I will tell you for a fact today, if you are talking about the youngest population across the globe, it exists in Africa, especially in Nigeria. Yeah. So the growth potential is absolutely humongous. So if you couple of the points that we touched upon in terms of 80% don't have access to the formal banking channels. If you are talking about the technology setup and the infrastructure, that is much better than a couple of years back. If you are talking about the internet and the mobile penetration. If you are talking about people like us who invest locally in all of these markets. So that will inevitably make us in a much better position in the years to come to ensure that we have the available solution to the masses, but more importantly, we invest in what really matters the most. Because at the end of the day, why digital payment matters? Because it has a direct implication on the GDP growth of the country. And if I'm talking about the transaction value of Africa today in the digital payments, you are talking about 195 to 200 billion. That is supposed to double within 2 years. And that exponential growth that we are looking for is driven by all the factors that we discussed earlier on and even in this space.
I have to pick your brain on artificial intelligence and what you think the impact could be on financial services if everything is. I think there was the CEO of a company over in India. I think it was Tata Consulting Services. He was saying, for instance, that AI could replace call centers. How do you think AI could impact financial services going forward?
Brilliant point. And I'll tell you, we wouldn't have been done if we don't talk about two things, AI and machine learning, or generative AI, right? So usually we used to talk about artificial intelligence, but over the last 6 months or so, you start thinking about Gen AI, generative AI, which is more predictable. So what we have done today, we have adapted robotics, we have adapted machine learning and AI algorithm into the safety and security vertical and the loyalty solution. So you have the fundamental, which is the layer, orchestration layer. You have a platform which will support the hosting of cars, of merchants, all of that absolutely fine. But what really matters today is the differentiation, the advanced value-added services, in which one of that is the latest fraud monitoring tool and prevention to come into play to ensure that the safety that we were talking about, the safety net. So this is driven by AI and machine learning, loyalty solution, and the gamification that we have today. That's why when we are talking about the solution, technology is one thing, but what really matters to the consumer, the experience.
Right.
So the customer experience will come from having a safe environment to transact, and also having the ability to do it in a convenient and seamless manner. So all of that is driven today. We have lots of robotics in terms of, you touched upon the call center, absolutely. So you see the IVR, everything is a little bit more intelligent. We would like to think so now. And even like, routing some of the transaction, and instead of having any transaction that, instead of being declined, and you need to call a call center agent to see or verify if the transaction is for you or not. Now you have algorithm to identify, and the machine learns. So whatever I go through today, I will mark it as safe. Second time is safe. Third time, the machine will pick because you have already educated the machine on what it really means. So all of these elements are coming very fast into the space today. And pretty much we are adapting that in all the solutions that we are coming, especially to Nigeria with.
Fantastic. Hey, look, I wish we had more time. This has been a fantastic conversation. Dr. Reda Helal, Managing Director for Processing in Africa at Network International. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.